Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, what's going on?
Hey. I, I
Hey.
didn't, I didn't hear any waiting music, so I guess it went straight to just us talking. Whatever. I don't know if you know this, but you can go back and edit the videos. So if you want to throw in your background music like you've done in the past, you can do that. Uh,
Actually, yeah, I never took a look at that yet. Like, cause there's this one song, like it's not necessarily a good song, but like, I don't know, like I think it's got this weird like rhythm to it that kind of really fits the whole late night vibe.
yeah, it has that jazzy vibe. I've noticed that. You can always get caught, royalty-free music. Download it and then put it into your videos instead of just pulling from their library.
Yeah.
I know a few YouTubers have some like really nice royalty free music that you might want to put in your podcast. I'll send them to you so you can check it out. But I noticed that you were consistently doing music and then all of a sudden you stopped, and I didn't know if that was a result of because you didn't realize you could go back and edit, or just because you didn't do it in the first place, or what it was. But I was just figured I'd mention that.
Yeah.
Anyways, so what do we got for our first topic?
So animation. I've noticed ever since I mean, I know the whole like industry didn't start back in 1995 with Toy Story or anything. It's been around for much longer than that. Like, well, actually, that's if you're talking
Stone
about
Ages.
like CG animation. Like, if, oh yeah, if you really talk about like true animation with drawings and stuff, yeah, it goes like way back.
Hmm.
Like, damn, like it's pretty unreal how it all actually like, came to be at first because like literally one guy was just making what is essentially a flip book,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
someone hey, what if we made an entire little movie about that?
yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much how it went. A lot of it was kind of tied to the. I know it's gonna sound silly, but it's kind of true. Tied to the cave drawings, and they took inspiration from like mythological stories, cave drawings, and then I believe it's either China, Japan, or one of the two. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be racist, but I just vaguely remember it being
Chainsaw.
one of the Asian countries. Uh, and I think it was China. Now thinking about it, yeah, it was China. They created the flip book because they liked paper and they were super into the paper. And there was a bunch of other things. They also did the shadow art. We'll get more into that later. But anyways, they did a flip book, and then that was brought across, the seas and all that. I may have even been brought in by who went to someone from Italy. I want to say it's Christopher Columbus, but I feel like it's wrong. It can't be Christopher Columbus. But anyways, someone from Italy went to China, and I believe I don't know if people know this. Well, this is the rumor, but spaghetti was actually made with Chinese noodles and Italian sauce, the whatever sauce. Forget you put on like pizzas, but I guess back then pizzas wasn't invented until like American times. But that's how spaghetti was made, was because they mixed it with Japanese noodles, or not Japanese, Chinese noodles. Is that same thing as how a lot of trade started developing as a result of that discovery of each other's culture. And I think that also might be why stories started developing different. This is just a theory, actually. That might be why stories started developing as a result of that interaction, because they probably brought the flip book to Italy, and then from there, that changed the way they told stories. Uh, Shortly after that, they started doing the whole revolving. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but have you ever heard of a revolving stage?
Uh, I don't think so. For some reason, I'm thinking about Shakespeare's Globe Theater, but I'm pretty sure that's not it.
That's it. That's it. That's
Oh,
exactly it.
really?
Yeah, I don't know the name of it. I just know that it's like a revolving stage. I mean, it's literally like not the name of it, but that's literally what it does. It's a stage and it revolves. So I call it a revolving stage. Uh, but yeah, no, I think that I'm not saying that that's where it came from, but I'm saying that that may have been their inspiration, was just the idea of constant change between sets of scenes and things. May have been how people started changing their ideas of things. And then from there, the idea of animation in all forms. So, for example, puppets, shadow puppets, especially. became a thing, and then from there, animation just became pretty much an idea for the longest time. And then they ended up developing the projector. And I think in the beginning of the projector, they didn't do film because they didn't really understand that you could do you could put a roll of images and play them. They just showed images, and they had a little the little thing that you press and it flips from one thing to the next. And then I think someone invented a motor that runs the images, and then that's when they invented film. And I think as soon as they invented film, they were like, oh, we could turn this into a form of animation. And that's, I believe, where animation came from in a technical way. And this is a lot of theory basing off of historical evidence and how cultures influence each other, which is more of a scientific influence, because I think if you ask a languagist, they would probably agree with me on that. And I don't know, culturist, I don't know if that's what you call it, people who study culture, I forget what you call that. It's not a culturist, because culturist is more of a way of living more than a science. It's wanting to learn about cultures that are present and experience them so much more than study them for scientific reasoning. I'm getting off topic. That's okay. Anyways, that's kind of what I've heard. I don't know what you've heard. A lot of that was speculatory anyways. It was more theoretical. So I don't know what you have from your knowledge. That's my way of saying you can talk now about whatever you think.
I pretty much, think pretty much the same thing. I know. Let's see. I know learning some animation history, not from school or anything, just random Google searching. I know like sometime in the 1870s here in America. Well, I mean, it's kind of animation, but also at the same time, it's also kind of how the first motion picture was created. I think it was this weird experiment. I think it was Thomas Edison that was he was conducting. He wanted to see if you were to look at a horse, he wanted to see if at one point like all the horse's legs would be off the ground. And so what he did was, he got a guy to ride a horse, and the horse had to ride along this really straight line. And the straight line, the horse would trigger some kind of like string or some. It wouldn't end up tripping it, but it would end up making a bunch of cameras go off. And so so you get like continuous pictures of the horse in motion. And then he created his wheel thing in which you put all the pictures in, and when you spun it around, it actually gave the illusion that the picture was moving, and therefore he was not able to just do his experiment and confirm that when a horse runs, at some point all the legs are off the ground. But he also I'm guessing unintentionally created the first motion picture. And then from there, people had this idea, hey, we don't have to, make these cool, animations by drawing things. We can actually get real people in on this now. And from there, it just kind of sparked the entire, movie industry. And from there, it evolved more and more, especially, when you go back 100 years ago, when they finally started implementing color and sound into movies, and you just get to where we're at today. We got 4K HD, all this D stuff, going on, 3D, what may have you. It's I think the whole point to for movies to become more immersive. And I think it definitely where we're at now, far cry from how things were back, over 100 years ago.
Did you hear about the first theatrical movie, ones that had money backing it and all that?
I don't think so. I know one of the first movies shown in theaters was I had this.
Hello?
80 miles an hour. I heard someone's. Okay, so I thought someone was talking in the background.
Oh, I got close to my door. I was closing it because my dad just walked in. Go ahead.
So anyway, speaking of 80 miles an hour, the movie, one of the first movies they showed in theaters was actually, I don't know if it was just this one scene or the movie had this scene, but it had this scene of a train going towards the camera. Well, I mean, it was angled to look like it was coming towards the camera, but somebody recorded the initial reaction to it, and when we saw the train, coming at them on the screen, Like they all kind of moved and reacted as was actually coming to them. And I thought, first of all, that's pretty fun, but at the same time, like definitely like this stuff kind of stuff had to been new at the time of them showing this because I mean, you show that same little movie of a train coming at you now, you're not gonna like move away because you know it's not real. Whereas I
Yeah,
mean, seeing that for the first time, yeah, you would initially react that way.
yeah. I think it's just kind of the idea in the head and the magicalness of it is probably what causes people to think that way. Because I see people act that way about VR, and honestly, I kind of think in the back of my head, or like, I don't know if everyone acted the same way, like towards that projection. Uh, the same. Well, that's what I mean. The same. In the same sense that
Yeah.
I see a lot of people will freak out about VR. And then like me, I'm like the type of person that puts it off and I'm like, well, this isn't as hyped as I thought it was gonna be. I honestly am like, okay, this isn't as immersive, but it's whatever. But it's still enjoyable, don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't enjoy it. It's just I'm not like, oh my gosh, this looks real. But then there are people who are. They're like, this is so immersive, it's so real. It's like, it still looks like a bunch of polygons to me, but if you say so. Um, that's just me. Uh, I was asking earlier, but did you hear about the first theatrical movie, like with like it had funding and all that, and it was like sent to like
Uh,
for several people to see. Like they had screenings at like theaters, not movie theaters at the time. It was just like where they would have plays and stuff. I
I
believe, and I might be wrong on this, so don't quote me, but I believe I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's called The Moon or something like that. I know what the poster or the cover of it looks like. It's a giant moon, and it has a rocket in its eye, and it looks
Oh,
like
that weird French movie,
yeah,
Journey to the Moon.
yeah, that's it. Journey to the Moon. I knew it was. I couldn't remember the name, but I remember it was something Moon. Um. Anyways, I believe that was the first like theatrical movie, and it's silent, black and white, but that was the beginning of something awesome. It's actually on Netflix. I don't know if it still is, but it was on Netflix for a while, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, and I think that's what changed movies. I find it ironic that it was the French because the French are always the most artistic. Uh, I was funny. It's also like the guy leading like all the Dream stuff right now. Dreams from PlayStation. He's
Yeah.
French, and I think that's funny. Or is he Italian? I can't remember. Oh wait, isn't it the same thing? Is it France and Italy? Not Italy, but I mean,
Oh no, they're two separate countries, but they are really like I think they actually
because
border
I
each other.
told someone told me they were, and then I was like, no, they aren't. And then I was left confused because I was like, well, maybe he's right. I could see why they're next to each other. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, that's what I was told is that they're super artistic. Actually, both of those countries are super artistic. So yeah, so I always hear about the French models because the French models are apparently typically lead the trends and create the art and all that. Sorry about that, guys. We were talking about film, and where did we leave off? We talked about
Let's see.
animation.
You were talking about the French models and how like they're like how they led like the art or something along those lines.
Oh, I was referring to the phrase. Yeah, they like, oh yeah, I'm dating a French model, and how people just kind of like gloat about, being close to someone who's French or whatever.
I
It's
wish I was
typically
a
the
French model.
well, the idea is they lead in like beauty and art and all that. So it's like, oh, they're a French model. It's like a way of saying like, oh, they're very autistic, or excuse me, very artistic, not autistic, very artistic in their abilities and everything. Um. Anyways, I forgot what more I was going to say, but you can go ahead.
Uh Shoot, actually, so referring back to the to that Voyage to the Moon movie, when you really think about it, like I mean, just by the way it was filmed and just by the way the actors acted and the way everything was set up, it was pretty much how movies were at the time. which they're just basically pre-recorded plays. But except without having to do everything live, they were able to put these extra special effects, like actually have them go onto the set without really having to like pause between scenes or having an intermission or whatever. And on top of that, if you really think about it, the Voyage to the Moon is like Star Wars before Star Wars, and what I mean is that how it revolutionized the how like expansive stories can be told. Because when Star Wars came into the picture,
Mm-hmm.
there was nothing like it. Back in the '70s, freaking how just not just by the special effects alone, how it literally just took you to a different world, but like all these different sets and all these different assets being used to make you feel like you're taking a journey to another galaxy far, far away. And back in 1920, whatever, that's what Voyage to the Moon did. Except not nearly as on a grand level that Star Wars did, but of course for the time it was just amazing.
I believe the director, and I might be wrong about this, but I believe the director was a musician, or not musician, yeah, magician. Uh, and I think was the one who basically created the idea of doing things in post, which is where like you take the film itself and edit over the film. Uh, and that concept was, of course, I mean, obviously it was the first like productionally produced film, but it revolutionized the way they even edit the film. Because I don't think anyone ever thought of the term edit until like around that time when I started noticing that you could like physically change the way the film looked, allowing them to like do jump cuts and splices and stuff like that. And they actually did that in the film. They would this I do know because I remember watching a little video on it. I can't remember exactly what it was about, but they would freeze the frame, or not freeze the frame, but they make everyone freeze. They would replace someone, and they would just throw down a bunch of like ninja smoke or whatever. And so it would look like that person transformed into whatever. And that was one of the special effects they used. And then they would just take the film, they would splice it together.
Yeah.
And that's how they would do it in post. So like he really revolutionized the idea of post production because I think he was the first person to do it. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he was the first person to do it. Anyways, any more to add?
Let's see. Well, actually,
Next topic.
oh well, okay, we can do that too. All right. Let's see.
Unless you have
Okay,
to
well,
say.
actually, what I can say can like kind of lead into this next topic here. So in
Yes,
addition to what I
segue.
was saying earlier about how movies are, the whole goal is to, to become more immersive. You got HD, 4K, 3D, and now recently, you have VR, which I don't think there are truly any movies in VR yet, but I mean, I'm pretty sure sometime in this decade, that might become somewhat of a thing, and uh, and so then and that leads me to to our next topic, just the history of entertainment, of how like all these different experiences, whether it might be a book, a song, a movie, game, or anything that's meant to entertain you. It's cool how like in every single format, they're always trying to like take you somewhere else. It's trying to take you away from real life and just temporarily put you in a different spot. Like, you say a video game, you're playing Super Mario and it takes you away, from your living room and your couch, and it puts you into this mushroom kingdom and you got to go save a princess, or you're reading like Narnia. It takes you, into the wardrobe and into the whole world inside that. You listen to a song like Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, and it just leads
Oh
you.
no, I can't say that.
Whew.
Oh gosh, you cut out towards the end there.
Do what?
I talked, and as soon as I talked, it like crackled, and I couldn't hear the rest of what you were saying.
Oh,
You
wow.
said Led
Let's see.
Zeppelin, and I went as soon as you said Led Zeppelin, I'm like, oh, you can't talk about that as a joke because I don't know if you heard, but it's like the Cursed Rift.
The Cursed Rift. Shoot, I
You
mean,
haven't heard that?
no.
If you play the beginning, like I think it's melody or intro to Stairway to Heaven on like a guitar or whatever, and apparently, excuse me, in majority of music stores, they will kick you out for playing that riff.
What the hell? Why?
I don't know.
It's a
I
beautiful.
heard. Well, I heard it's like cursed or something, and like I can't remember what the reasoning was. Either people who played it in Guitar Store had died, or some other. It was superstition. I remember that much. I'll send you a video on it. I remember seeing that. And the guy likes playing. He likes trolling people, so he likes playing it wherever he can to see if people. And then, of course, he'll just get up and leave. But he likes doing it everywhere. It's funny.
And that's another thing I really like about entertainment and all the formats that come with it is that it's stuff like that. Theory, superstitions, all sorts of stuff can come out of these bits of media. Like, shoot,
Oh
take
yeah.
Doki Doki for example. There's so many theories
Oh,
alone.
oh
God.
yeah. Oh yeah. Especially when it comes to me. I know some people have like two or three theories on it, and me, I'm like, 20,000 is that good enough? Specifically, the whole chakra theory. I haven't really seen one anywhere. I've seen people kind of like discuss it as an idea, but not necessarily a theory. And then you got me, and I'm like, well, they got the eyes, and they talk about the eyes a lot, and there's a lot about the eyes, and the personality relates to the color of their eyes. So, in theory, yeah. Still haven't finished that. I regret it. I got really close to part one being finished, but I kind of stumped with the last little bit of Sayori. I'm trying to like explain how her abilities relate to her color. The problem is she wasn't in the game long enough for me to explain that. So it's a bit difficult
Shoot.
because she's throat, and throat has to do with choice making and creativity and all that. And she provides a lot of the choices in the game, but she doesn't seem to give Monica the choice until she's dead. But I have no real way of proving that because there's a few points where it seems like Monica starts to take control. It's weird. It's hard for me to like prove it.
Yeah.
I'll probably figure out a way to do that later. Anyways, no, I'm kidding. I see what you did there. You're trying to get me to talk more about Doki Doki. Dude,
Well,
I could talk about it
you
for.
caught me again.
Haha, it is you, Neo, Dio, or whatever it is.
But actually,
Uh,
one of my favorite theories, or urban legends that come from entertainment is the whole like if you play this one Pink Floyd album while playing Wizard of Oz at the same time, like they somehow sync up. And I've did it myself, and it's weird. I don't know how somebody discovered this, but it oddly really does. And it's not really so much scary to me. It's more so like, why? Why is this so?
well, if you want to talk about Pink Floyd syncing up with things, Pink Floyd also syncs up the album Dark Side of the Moon, syncs up with Paul Blart 2, or Mall Cop Paul Blart 2, or whatever you want to call
Really? A great album synced up with a terrible movie?
it. Yeah, like when they sing Money, it syncs up perfectly with the scene Money where like, or not, sorry, Money, where he's in the, what do you call it? Booth areas where you can buy a bunch of merchandise and stuff. The convention center. It syncs up perfectly with the convention center. And it plays again. It syncs up perfectly again when he enters the same place twice. Once when it's open and once when it's not. And then it's the forget what the I'm trying to remember the classic song that they play. Anyways, it syncs up perfectly with him fighting the bird.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hi.
You're welcome.
You just push it up, huh?
Yes, you press this button here.
No, I mean,
Oh yeah, you just push it up and you,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. My grandma's staying with us for a week, so she just needed help with some.
All right, I was like picking tears. I was like, what's going on? Anyways, where were we? I was talking about. No, I forgot what I was talking about. I'm not gonna lie. Oh yeah, Pink Floyd syncing up with Paul Blart. But yeah, I can see the video of it syncing up at all the different points. In fact, that's kind of my inspiration for like the whole music theory of like Doki Doki. Because first it was, oh, their names can be translated from Latin into English, and you get like the actual like no, it was English, Japanese to Latin, and then that's how you get their secret names. But then I later realized that the songs that come from those people also sync up with the scenes if you put on autoplay with the story. And I just thought was like, oh man, that's so detailed and so perfect. It's insane. Like
Yeah.
I knew he was. I knew Dan Savado was autistic. That's like just next level. I'm sorry. I don't know if you know that, but yeah, he's like apparently he's like actually autistic. So.
Well, damn, you learn something new every day.
Well, I mean, I technically already knew it. Sorry, I was making a dumb joke. Anyways, feel like I got off topic. Oh yeah, the songs syncing up. You talked about Over the Rainbow syncing up with which song?
Let's see. I don't remember which song it specifically was.
I feel like it has to be Dark Side of the Moon, like the actual song anthem, Dark Side of the Moon.
I think so. I gotta look up the album order because I know the tornado scene. I know it synced up with a song called "On the Run," and watching it, even just watching the video by itself on YouTube, it's trippy. I fucking love it.
So all the songs match up with the album. Okay, I see. There's a good chance that was intentional, by the way. I don't know if you know that. That's very likely.
Shoot.
Honestly, that's more impressive on the guy who made Wizard of Oz, because I believe Dark Side of the Moon came first, and then you had Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz is more impressive because he had to do what's it called, imagery, where basically the music flows with what is being shown or talked about.
Yeah.
And so when he says, over somewhere, over the rainbow, it goes high and it goes over, like his voice goes over when he sings. And if that is match up with the Pink Floyd songs, that means that he had to like, he was just so creative or so talented that he was able to sync both things together while still maintaining what's it called, imagery. I forget what it's called, like musical imagery or something like that. Which that's impressive. That's so impressive. I mean, I know technically you can get songs to sync up really easy if you just have them set to the same tempo, but that's besides the point. But yeah, no, I've seen a few songs that sync up pretty good. Or songs that sync up to particular scenes really well, which is kind of a rarity, but it sometimes it's the case. Like with the DDLC music, not all of it matches up, and I think it's mostly on my part because I just don't know where to put the music. Like I know I messed up on Sayori's because I had it pretty perfect the first time, and I knew it didn't sound as good the second time, but I just kind of threw it in there because I didn't feel like restarting. Now I heard a song recently, and I was like, dang, that's the song that's played before you get the note. I'm playing the wrong song before you get the note. The song that you're supposed to be playing before you get the note is There Was a Chemical Imbalance in the Brain, is like one of the lyrics. And as the song ends, you'll get the note. It's crazy. I think the song's actually called You're Quite Mad. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. And I'm like, dang, I put the wrong song there. It's pretty difficult to do when you're trying to like remember where all the songs come from. They do come from specific albums because I think it's 3 different albums and they pretty much go in exact order. I can't remember the first one, I'll be honest, but the second one, actually, I think it's Things I Know. Things I Know. I might be wrong about that, but it's Things I Know, Joggered, and then Happy, or The New Happy, or it's the first and the last might be switched. I can't remember because I know it sings Chirp Chops in the beginning, and then towards the end it's New Happy. But yeah, it's Dude, when I made that edit, it gave me goosebumps because I was like, some of this just matches perfectly. Especially, like, I have no doubt in my mind, like, no doubt in my mind that uh, light from the ceiling, or yeah, light from the ceiling is meant to be played after the notes you get the note, and like as it ends as soon as you open the door, because like you get that rise in tension just as the rise in tension within the game happens. Like where it's supposed to go quiet, it goes quiet in the song, and then you get that creepy like music box sound, and then all of a sudden it's reversed, and then as that happens, they hit the chorus one more time, and it's like long drawn and creepy sounding, and then that's when the door opens. Oh, dude, that gives me goosebumps every time. I'm not even lying. The first time I heard that, I actually cried a little because the music just went so well. Especially the second song that comes like right after it, which I'm also sure comes right after it, which is the new Happy, because it talks about there's nothing you could do to change what happened, and it just tells you to move on. It's not your fault, and oh my gosh, it's so crazy. And it's funny because you compare it to what's being said in the moment. He's literally talking about how it's his fault, how he could have changed it, and how he could have made a difference. But like the song's saying like exactly the opposite. Like there is nothing you could do. And if you play the game again, you find out there is actually nothing you could do. So the song is like basically telling you before you play the game again that you cannot make a change. And then you have Happy, I think was this the first song's Happy. In the beginning, I mean. And that's the song is like, I didn't kiss her because I liked her too much. If you see the picture for when they're hugging, he's not his lips aren't near her cheek. His chin's over her shoulder. So indicating they never kissed after either getting together or having that emotional moment. And it syncs up perfectly because it talks about, as soon as it talks about how her fire's in a heart and is going to explode, she talks about, my heart hurts, it feels like it's blowing up. And it's like, oh my gosh, it syncs up so perfectly. So yeah, no, I like sometimes people are artistic and they know how to like get things to sync up the way they are. Like think about like Dan Silvato. He's like, okay, actually it was probably easier for Dan Silvato because he's just like, okay, I can speed it up here, slow it down there. Whereas like with people making music, they have to like and try to match it up with like scenes or actually just people trying to do scenes. Like I guess you could edit it to where it kind of syncs up, but it still makes that harder. I don't know. I just think that's crazy. Actually, it makes me wonder if it was the editor who was listening to Pink Floyd as he edited the video. Later find out it's exactly what happened. But yeah, no, music synchronization is like, dude, I love it. It gives me such chills when I find out music syncs up perfectly with something. It's like, oh, they were thinking of that when they wrote it. I was like, that's so cool. And I'm not saying like every scene in Doki Doki like syncs up to a song, but he definitely, like, for example, I know for sure the Natsuki song matches up perfectly with the Doki Doki song written by, I forget the person's name, because it's on their official channel. Now, if you're not paying close attention, the animation you see is the exact same animation that will be played autoplay when I think it's the second day you're talking to Natsuki, and it's where she like blinks her eyes, closes, and like smiles and all that. That song matches up perfectly because it also matches up with the song from the official channel. And I've already told you about how if you go there, you get a bunch of like Latin words and phrases that relate to a lot of theories that I've already had before even knowing about that. I just love getting more confirmation. It just makes me go, yeah, I'm right, yeah. Like the aura in their eyes, dude, I got so freaked out when I saw that. I was like, Nani? Literally, it's like aura in their eyes. It was released the same day as the game. Well, not the same day, but the same time.
Yeah.
Like there's no other album that comes even close except for that one album. So I don't know. It's very interesting how all that works together. But yeah, it also made me realize that Natsuki might have more music related to her and not necessarily have a specific artist. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I get you.
Because I kind of, oh, by the way, I found, as I say this, Divio apparently does baking. I didn't know that.
Really?
Like the cake that you see on his channel isn't like just some random cake. Like I noticed that he makes, as a hobby, he makes cakes for people.
So Natsuki is just like the girl version of him.
Yeah, pretty much. I just found that funny. And then I later find out that he's most definitely friends with Dan Savada because he's on his Twitter.
Noisu.
I sent you a video on that, I believe. He's like Danny, and then it's like literally him recording Danny DeVito, or Dan Savado.
Danny DeVito, you say?
Oh yeah, I'm right now. Oh, dude. Well, see, one day I was talking to some anime girls, and then next thing you know, they're dying.
Oh no.
I don't know. I was trying to do a remix of the Danny DeVito meme where he's like, one moment I was yada yada yada, and the next moment I was doing yada yada yada. Have you seen that?
Then the next moment, I started blasting.
Have you seen that? The meme, the Danny DeVito meme, where he's like, I'm doing this, and then next I was doing that.
I don't think so, actually.
So he's like waving around two items. I don't know what they are because I don't think I've seen the original image, but people will always edit it with like something else in his hand. And then
Yeah, like
I
thought like he was holding up like guns in that meme.
No, it was a variety of things. It was a template, and people would make him like put different things in his hand. Like one moment I was stapling, and he would have a stapler, and the next moment, and it says some kind of office related joke, and then you might see another one where it's like, one moment I was chopping, and the next moment I started digging up diamonds. That's a Minecraft meme. There's a bunch of different ones. I was chopping. It's funny. Funny. But yeah, no, it's like a template meme and people have done a bunch of different things. Which one are you talking about? I haven't seen the gun one. Chris?
Shoot, what was that?
Where did I leave off? Where did I lose you?
Let's see. Like just a couple of moments ago, actually. Like
what was the last thing I said?
Let's see. You were talking about the meme, and then you said something about him having like a YouTube channel or something.
No. I said you saw the meme with the guns. What was that one about? Because I didn't even hear about that.
Well, yeah. Like I mean, it's the same meme that you're where he's holding two items, and usually like whenever I see it, it always has the caption. So then I started blasting, or like, and usually he would have the guns, or sometimes, or actually, this one really recent one, he was talking about the coronavirus, and then he was representing the people with corona, and he was like, so then I started traveling, and he had like plane tickets in his hands.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that one. For a moment there, I thought you said the only one you ever saw was guns with his hands. I'm like, my gosh, surprised he hasn't seen all the others. Okay, that makes more sense.
I saw this really dirty one. Where, yeah, but let's just say there's a reason why he says, and then I started blasting.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I gotta see the original. I feel like it's funnier if I knew the original. I feel like it's really out of context. Anyways, yeah. Now we talk about Danny DeVito memes. Now we can move on from Doki Doki and Danny DeVito. What were we talking about? More history. Rewind. Right.
Doki Doki Danny DeVito Club.
Yeah. That's a bit weird. Do you know the picture of it's like a gangster looking dude on like a really big couch, and there's like women all around him and stuff, and he's like gold chains and stuff on.
Basically any rapper from the 1990s.
Yeah, I guess. It's like Danny DeVito, and then it's like all the girls from the Doki Doki just surrounding him, and it's just captioned. So I started talking to him, and the next thing, never mind, forget it. Moving on. So we could talk about like rewinds, like how like everything seems to like want to self-reflect. Like I don't know if you know, Star Wars had a self-reflection.
Uh, well,
Prequels.
I can only think of that. Oh yeah, well, I mean, I never really saw the prequels as like a self-reflection. I mean, not unless like you
The sorry, what was that?
like I really never saw the prequels as like kind of a self-reflection on the Star Wars movies, unless you purposely edited them to be that way. Like if you get the scene in Part 4 where Obi-Wan's talking about or he's describing Anakin Skywalker, then you start putting scenes from the prequels as flashbacks or something.
I see what you mean. Well, George Lucas said he saw it as self-reflection, and he saw it as poetry, how it rhymes. This is what he said. It's like poetry; it rhymes. So yeah, and I can kind of say like which character relates to which. Like Luke relates to Anakin. What was the other one? Obi relates to I guess Qui-Gon. I'm trying to remember all of them. Like even like the slapstick characters relate to like the other slapstick character, so on and so forth.
Han
Um,
released to Chewie.
yeah, that. No, I was gonna say Jar Jar Binks apparently relates to CP3PO, but CP3PO was in there. That was kind of more speculation. It was based off the quote of George Lucas saying that it rhymes and that it's a reflection of the other one. So yeah, I personally don't really understand all that. I get the characters reflect each other, but I don't think the story itself does. That's just me.
Yeah.
But I do know that that's something that like his group of friends kind of believed in. So like him, Steve Jobs, and um, oh, I keep saying the wrong thing. Guy who made Jurassic Park, Steven Spielberg. They all relate to each other in that regard. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting things between their relationship. You heard about I don't know if you know this, but the CGI was brought about because of Steve Jobs' involvement with Pixar, which was I don't know if you know that, but Steve Jobs founded Pixar before it was actually bought by Disney.
Oh yeah, yeah. I knew about that, but didn't he like leave it for a while?
I think he sold it,
Ah, so that's what happened.
but I don't think he sold all of it. I think he only sold like a percentage of it. So he still had an involvement in it. Does that make sense?
Okay, so you got to make sure when every time Disney releases a new Toy Story movie, they have to be using iPhones.
Yep, that's it. You figured it all out. You're a genius. No, he actually left Apple when he started Pixar. And then Apple wanted him back, so he sold half the company, and then he went back to work with Apple. I believe that's what happened. Pretty sure that's what happened.
So I see.
It's funny. Apple actually released a or not curing app, a self-diagnosing app, and I was playing the game Plague, and it literally moments later, it's the CTA or whatever it's called releases an app to help identify illnesses. I was like, oh my gosh! Like literally seconds after the report, I was like mind blown. And then later in the game, it said Apple released an app called iCure,
Noise.
which is funny because they're releasing an app IRL that's about helping you with the coronavirus. In the game, though, it's really funny because when he does do that, it like really helps with solving a cure. Like it boosts it so much when I see that report. Like now, every time I see that report, I grunt because I know I'm going to get into some like hot stuff. Especially when the next report is people are rushing to buy the new iPhone that has like a special touch screen on it or whatever to cure things. And the funny thing is, and I find this very interesting. So it turns out that propaganda reason the screens help with curing the illness is because the money ends up later going to the government. So it's like blah 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 releases money to fund the cure. I just thought that was really interesting.
Shoot, damn.
So yeah, it's weird. So I guess it's kind of true. The touchscreen did help with the cure, but not directly. Such a weird way of putting it. It's interesting though because it does help in the game, and it's like, well, this is bad. So, what's our next topic again? I thought I was talking about rewinds.
Let's see. Rewinds. Oh yeah, like I think that was the original topic, and then we just kind of branched off.
I think it's history of entertainment, and then I was going to start talking about how. Oh yeah, that's right, self-reflection. Somehow how Star Wars does self-reflection. But like even like with YouTube, they like to look back on like what they've done and stuff. And I always think that's cool just to like look at all the progress a company's made. Like every 10 years, every time you have an anniversary, to be like, look at how much progress we've made. And I just love that stuff. I guess it gives me a sense of nostalgia when they do that kind of stuff. So I guess that's one reason why like I really love anniversary celebrations.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling like I don't know 10 or 20. I guess they've already done their 10-year anniversary. Google has, but I guess or not 10-year, 20-year anniversary. But I guess when they start doing their next, I guess 30-year anniversary, we can get like a chance to do like download a little mini plugin that's like a temporary plugin to get the idea and feel of like the old Google, and that's gonna feel so nostalgic. Oh man, I can't wait for when that happens. But that's the type of thing that I like. It's just like this reflection of like past things that's like somewhat still kind of like I guess relevant because like Google's still around, but it's like older now. I don't know. It gives me a sense of nostalgia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Like imagine if like Nintendo when they did an anniversary day, they just released like all the Volt stuff that's like old, they just released it onto like the stores like a package, and it's like the nostalgia package or the 50th anniversary package. And they just had like all their best games in it. Dude, that would be so awesome.
That would be.
Yeah. That's the type of stuff that I kind of hope to see. But I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but have you heard of the excuse me, the Nintendo PlayStation?
Oh yeah, like literally the thing that caused Nintendo's biggest rival. Shoot.
Well, actually,
Got like
it's the result of them breaking up, but yeah, it's pretty much what caused it.
yeah.
And it was mostly Nintendo's fault. They later found out. I don't even know this, but Sony was actually pretty small back then. I didn't realize that.
Well, I mean, well, yeah, I can kind of see that because I don't think Sony had like, I'm pretty sure they didn't have like all the movie studios yet. Let's see, I think they were like more of a music studio as well, and I think one of the biggest things they had at the time might have been like the Sony Walkman and like whatever other electronics they were selling at the time, and I think it would all be audio related, and I think the PlayStation
Uh,
was one of the first things they've actually ventured to that wasn't exactly music related.
I don't know if you know this, but their company is struggling now, which I think is ironic because they were just starting out and they were doing so well, and then all of a sudden it's like, what's happening now? Did you hear that? They're kind of going bankrupt.
Yeah, I'm hearing that, but like, I'm just wondering, like, why though? Like, is it just because no one's just like buying their stuff, or like,
No, it's kind of a ironic situation. It has to do with all our competition just beating them out. So Disney beats them out in movies. Uh, Almost every other company beats them out in electronics, especially Apple, Android, Microsoft. What else is the biggest? Beats. So like even their headphones are as like bought because of Beats and stuff like that. So they're just getting beat out so much that they just don't make as much money. Honestly, it's their
I can
marketing's
see
fault.
that.
Their marketing, if they honestly, it's the only issue. If they just had better marketing, they'd be fine. But they just suck at marketing. Like they're just bad. You heard about their press release for the PlayStation 5?
Like I heard that they were making it, but I'm not sure how this whole bankruptcy is gonna affect it.
I think they'll be fine because all the competition's kind of dying right now because of the economy.
Well,
Ironic
well,
how
there's
the
that, yeah.
the economy kind of affects everyone, but it affects the people who are producing more tech less because apparently the tech companies are doing fine because they can kind of produce the tech to help with the situation. Because computers is considered an essential business, so they're not going to go to business right now because they need to produce computers. But like with Disney, they make a little bit of electronics and computers, but not as much as everyone else. It's so funny because people don't realize how big these companies are. So they go, well, Disney's super big, but it's really the problem is Disney's an entertainment company. And there's so many eyeballs on it that more people look at them than any other company. They don't realize how big these companies really are. Like, yes, everyone has their hands in everything. Or do you look at how many shares they actually own? Just because they own a company, it doesn't mean they own like 90% of it. Sometimes you only need 2% to be considered an owner. So it's like it's hard for them to be like, oh yeah, this proves that Disney's everywhere, and then this economy happens, and it just kind of proves that nah, they don't really have their hands in everything because they started crashing like hard as soon as this happened compared to like some other companies. I don't know if you know this, but they were crashing harder than Apple to the point that Apple had enough money to buy out Disney
Oh God.
in cash in one sitting, in one swoop. That's insane. And it just shows you that they have way too much money in entertainment. And this idea that they're investing way too much in other things that aren't entertainment is just BS. They're really not. They're investing actually probably less than most companies that invest in entertainment. Like I guarantee you, Amazon has more hands in things than Disney. And you think, oh well, Disney has hands in a lot of things. Yeah, but so does Amazon. You have no idea how much has Amazon has like I think their hands in like 6 different AI companies. That's just the AI department. Then they have like several other departments. They have computer department, a software department, a firmware department, and then they have more departments. They have a grocery department, a retail department, a produce department, and then they have more departments. Like you should just look at the value and the size of the company and determine like, okay, that's how big it is. You shouldn't just like research how many things they've invested in because I did that a while back and found out like, okay, of course Disney is invested in a lot of things that are involved in a lot of things. But you look at the company just above them and they're like twice the size. Like there's a reason they make more money. It's not because they're a big company and they just happen to be really good at what they do. No, it's because they have their hands in a lot of things. So Disney's actually not doing that well. The bigger companies such as Apple, Google, and Amazon are doing really well, and it's they might not. Their streaming service might not be able to take off as much as they want it to now because, by the way, it's their main source of income right now.
Man.
Isn't that crazy? It's like mind blowing. Like, could you imagine if they hadn't released this sooner and they were still under contract with Netflix? Oh my gosh. Dude, they would not survive. Do you realize,
Oh my
do you realize
God.
they just released this like what, 3 months ago? No, 4 months
Yeah.
ago. Dude, they cut in at 4 months before this happened. Disney would be gone by now. I guarantee you. I mean, they would exist in brand, but like the way it runs and everything be gone by now because they'd be so depleted and have no way of getting income. By the way, their stocks went up after everyone had to go into quarantine, which means that a lot more people are probably watching the, uh, or I should say, a lot more people are getting Disney Plus,
Disney Plus.
which is why it's going up. But still, like that's their main source of income, and it makes you realize they would be gone right now if they did not have that streaming service. They would be like not here. It would be so cheap that it'd be like, yeah, there might be a crisis going on, but you're such a cheap investment. I'm just gonna wipe my nose and just buy you. Like right now, it would still be like a pretty hefty investment, which is why I think a lot of people aren't doing it because they're like, well, there's more priorities, more important things. But if it wasn't for the streaming service, they'd probably be so depleted. Like, oh yeah, it's a pretty easy investment. It's like a drop in the bucket, no big deal. That's how bad it would have probably been if they hadn't had their streaming service. I find that super weird and ironic. Because the thing is even though they've invested in so much, I don't think they've invested in any kind of like essential. Like they've invested in things like GoPro and stuff like that, but a lot of what I've seen is not an essential thing. You think they would? They tried to get into essentials, like they tried to make phones that didn't work out. They tried to do essentials, but they try to stick with entertainment, and people don't even realize that technically GoPro is entertainment, and they make a lot of money from that. It's not entertainment in the way that you see it, but it's definitely not a what's it called? There's
in the sense,
yeah, it's not an essential, so it doesn't help them. And right now, I don't think they've never invested in any form of essential. So really, yeah, they've only invested in entertainment. And can you blame them for not doing that? Like, they should have definitely invested in essentials because they might be making more money from that. But instead, their only source of income is movie streaming, and that's only by like coincidence and like the grace of all things movie. Oh my gosh, it's insane. The more I think that, I'm like, wow, they were 4 months from like not being able. It was delayed by 4 months. They would not be here by now.
God, like, I mean, shoot, like, the amount of Disney characters I see being used on like diapers, Ziploc bags, napkins, or whatever. I mean, actual essential things. That they put their characters on, they kind of bring, attract kids to that kind of stuff. You would think, that those would be the same essential things they would actually put investments to instead of just lending their, their characters or whatever to.
They pay royalties, and there's a good chance they're not producing that stuff right now because it takes too much time. They're just producing the wipes, not the characters with the wipes, if that makes any sense. So, because you got to pay royalties and get it from Disney, and I'm pretty sure that's like manufacturing agreements and deals. But my point being is they can't sit there and keep producing those because first off, it costs them money to pay for those royalties, and secondly, we're in a middle of a crisis. They're not going to be paying for royalties for stupid characters when they could just not be doing that at all and just produce wipes. It would save them money anyways because people are going to be buying that crap anyhow, no matter if it has the face of their favorite character or not. So with that said, I don't think getting companies to pay for royalties is necessarily going to help them in this current situation. I think a lot of people are just turning them down. Like, you freaking crazy! I'm not paying for your royalties. I just won't produce my own wipes without your freaking royalties. So there's a good chance they do that. Even if they have contract, they're probably like, well, then we're shutting down and we're setting up this department. So, I mean, people are going to have to like sacrifice a lot of great investments for this type of arrangement and deal. So there's that. And now for the future. We talked about the past. We should probably talk about the future.
The future. Well, I know it's not gonna. Let's see. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say I know because I could always be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this whole crisis is gonna blow over soon enough, and like the future of the industry will go back to normal within the next 6 months.
Oh, well, less optimistic than I thought. Okay. I thought you were going to say 2 weeks. I was going to laugh.
Well, I mean, I personally still think that, yeah, the whole thing is going to blow over in 2 weeks, but when we're talking about like...
That's what people keep saying 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like every time someone says it'll blow over in 2 weeks, I just start grunting because like that's what they said 2 weeks ago before we got into a lockdown. And literally a day later, we're in a lockdown. And then I heard the same thing again. Not a lockdown. That was when they told us they started shutting down places. My bad. And then I was told that exact same thing again. And then we went into lockdown. And then 2 weeks after that, we're in quarantine. Not quarantine. We're in orders to stay home. I'm like, no, stop saying that. You're jinxing it. Shut up. 2 weeks from now, it's going to get worse.
Allow me to jinx it more with some facts here. Because what I'm seeing is it's been 2 weeks, but I'm seeing things are starting to calm down. Because because for the first time in weeks, we're actually having cases of water and even a little bit of toilet paper in the store. So people are starting to calm down. They're not panic buying as much. And soon enough, soon enough people are going to be like, okay, maybe we shouldn't be freaking out. The people stop freaking out. Everybody else in power will stop freaking out, and then things will slowly revert back to the normal ways.
People in power aren't really freaking out. They're just trying to finish their plan. And I don't know if you know this, but the liberals are making it really hard. Well, they're not anymore because Trump straight up called them out, and there was no way of denying it because they have to write out their demands and make it public. So it's hard to deny something you literally wrote down in like black and white. So Trump straight up called them out. And then someone else said, hey, if you don't believe us, go read their demands. It's public. You can find it here. I'm like, tell me if we're being unreasonable. I think we need to focus on the crisis, not these completely unrelated demands. And I know like conservatives are not as emotionalist as we seem. Like we might be logical and think things through, but we care very much about people. And the problem is I honestly believe that the people in power who are liberals feed on people who aren't in power who are liberals, because people who aren't in power and liberals are very emotionally charged, and the people in power are smart enough to get in that position that they're not really emotionally charged, but they know they can prey on those emotions. So they always try to use it against us. Well, it was so obvious at this point that they're being that way because they're just trying to throw their completely unrelated demands during a crisis. Like, no, this isn't relevant. We need to make plans and go through with them. So we need to make these votes and finish it. It wasn't until I think 2 days ago that they finally went through with some of these plans. And that's why he's making the prediction about Easter, because if we get these plans into effect now, like as soon as possible now, we can set up all these facilities and like transform some of these areas into like medical areas and stuff. And then after that, what'll happen is he'll just release I think I've already said this, but I'm going to say it again. He'll release everyone out, and that's when they'll get treatment in case they're sick. And then everything can go back to normal, and we'll have enough things set up to handle the epidemic. So how do I say this where it makes sense? We're going to flatten the curve, but once we have enough to handle something bigger than the smaller curve that we have now, then he's just going to let it happen because we can handle the bigger curve if we have enough facilities and enough people to take care of it. That's kind of the concept. The problem is that plan cannot go into effect until it's passed, until everyone agrees on it. And that's the real issue right now. I think just now it went into effect, so we shouldn't really see the effects until 2 weeks from now, which means technically it won't get better until after the 2 weeks. But I don't want to jinx it. I'm not going to jinx it anymore. I'm tired of hearing it gets better in 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks later it gets worse.
Well, I'm going to keep jinxing. I'm going to keep jinxing it just so like this year will be very interesting. Imagine a quarantine.
It can't get worse than this. A meteor will soon strike Earth. Damn it!
Or freaking let's make it even worse. Let's jinx it so bad to where everybody that's like in their senior year of high school right now trying to graduate, they won't be able to graduate till 2025.
No, they're already fixing that. They're doing online school as we speak. They'll be fine. They'll get digital.
But then they have to quarantine the computers too.
They'll get digital diplomas. People are like, where's your diploma? It's on my app. It like changes society completely. We're no longer social creatures. We're just like people plugged into a TV.
Hey, like those freaking memes.
Then it turns into like Inception, and we're no longer worried about the virus because we're more worried about the computer viruses that could affect our brains.
Computer 19.
It's Y2K of our brains. Ooh, yeah, buddy. Anyways, let's talk about not the darkness of the future, but the awesomeness of the future. Let's specifically talk about VR. What do you think about the future of VR? Like all the stuff that you've been hearing about them making, or they've made already, or they've kind of like come really close to almost finishing. I don't know if you've heard everything about VR and all the stuff they got planned or have already done.
Not really so, but I know that like I mean from their really odd beginnings back in the 90s to like what we had in the late 2010s. It's like we like things have definitely improved, and people are now have a better idea of what they should be doing and how it should be done. And that's why I'm really excited when it comes, to either this decade, the 20s. I'm so excited to see where they go from here, because even more now, technology is still like rapidly evolving. And when we get to the whole subject of VR, like shoot, like possibly late, like really late this decade, we might even see VR movies become more of a thing. I mean, that's like,
Hardcore
don't take
Henry.
my word on it, but that would be kind of cool if if VR actually becomes more not accessible, but more general. For they get people interested in actually doing VR instead of having VR just some sort of a gimmick that that you can do as an option.
Yeah. I would be interesting, like if you could develop a character as an AI and then set up an environment as an AI and then like have all these objects as set up as an AI, have them all like work in a cohesive society together as like one giant hive mind of a AI. And then you're set in that world. And so like when you interact with the specific AIs and characters and things, the world around you changes with it. And with that you can create like a story and a narrative. So you can interact with things real time like you would in real life, but it's a video game and but every choice you make affects the entire world, even the smaller ones. That'd be so cool, like a procedural generated movie, almost like a VR movie. It'd be so crazy. Um, that would be an interesting thing to do. Um, what else? I was going to say something. Oh, did you hear about the tactile feedback machines?
Are those weird things, or like weird glove things you put on, and then they can make you like feel virtual reality?
Kind of, yes. That is one of the technologies, but it's like so much more. Like it's when they say tactile feedback technology, it just means like touch feedback technology. So that includes like a breastplate or like a head cover or anything of that sort. There are some that are like these thin like wetsuit things, and they give tactile feedback on the entirety of your body. I
Cool.
kind of wonder if some of them work like pixels in the sense that they have like little tiny pressure plates and they push up against your skin depending on the feedback within the game. But I don't know if that's true or not, if that, how that works or not. But I did watch a video on it recently of the cheapest one that they have on market. It just has a few pressure plates and it just like pushes down on you with them. Or no, it sends vibrations. My bad. It shakes and gives vibrations. And there's one for the wrist, and it vibrates around the hand perfectly, like a yeah. Uh, but apparently you can use it in VR chat. You just have to use Unity and a plugin for Unity to attach the controls to your model, and you can put the model or sorry, you can put the controller for the model anywhere on your body, anywhere on your body, and to the point that it gives you some interesting experience, to say the least. And in VR chat, that might be something you might find interesting. Um, but just don't,
Finally, VR hentai.
pretty much. I watched a video on it though. He was explaining that, and he's like, "Well, theoretically, it's totally possible." In case you were wondering, because I know you're going to be asking me in the comments. But yeah, no, it's technology is interesting. But we've talked about the past. We talked about the future of entertainment and all its varieties and sorts. And I've went on a tangent about Doki Doki too many times. And we went way over this time because we actually had that recording from previously. I'm not sure if you remember that. But
Yeah, it was about 13 minutes.
it was about what?
13 minutes long.
Yeah,
so
roughly.
Here we are at.
If you trim it, yeah, it's 13 minutes, but it's actually 15. But unless you trim it, then it's shorter. But anyways, that's not the point. But yeah, anyways, you want a specific topic to kind of wrap this up, to kind of bundle it together, and then just kind of close it out afterwards?
Okay, well, on this topic of the past, present, and future of of the entertainment industry and technology involving entertainment, let's see, how about like the quirkiness of it all?
Oh,
like
right, we talked about quirkiness.
How things start off, quirky, and then become like real, like legit stuff later. Like take the Power Glove for example. Like it's designed back in the '80s. It was just gimmicky add-on or what you call it, accessory, for a video game console. But then you give it some time, you actually put some real thought into it. Here we are today, and people could use stuff like that, albeit in a more evolved, more professional form. And they can use it for like medical reasons and such. They can have more in-depth. What you call it? Well, I'm thinking about this one device. I'm not sure if it's like. Let's see. I know basically the whole point of the Power Glove was motion control, but like I know I saw it. I'm not sure if it was just like realistic fiction, or I don't know if they actually have something like this, but to where like they have like some kind of like a 3D model of like an organ that they would use in hospitals, and then you can use this motion to kind of move it around and see like where the problem is in a patient. And I'm like, well, I mean, shoot, that's.
It sounds like you watched a demo video of a compilation of all the future innovations in technology. I've seen a few of those in the past. They're pretty cool. One of the things they thought would take off is a smart mirror. Smart mirrors haven't taken off, even though they're super easy to make. Mostly because I think people just don't really care about them. I mean, they're not that interesting. But yeah, no, I've seen demo videos of technology before. I kind of want you to send me that one. That sounds more up to date. But no, I've heard of all those technologies, specifically the organ one. That one really interests me, which is, in case the viewers don't know, or some random person online who just happens to stumble across this is interested in this, they do these things where they're able to print the tissue, or it's like a stem cell almost. I don't know what it's called, but they're able to print a biodegradable skeleton of an organ, and then they take that organ and they grow cells on them, and then they put it inside an environment that mimics the type of behavior that it'll be experiencing in real life. So for a heart, they would print the heart, and then they would grow cells around the heart, and then they would put it in a jar full of blood, and then they would pump the heart so it would behave as if a heart. And then once it's fully developed, they would take that and they would put it inside the patient. Now, as far as the gloves and all that, I kind of think I know what you're talking about, but to be honest, I don't really know, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. But I do know about the 3D printing, because that blew my mind. I was watching a video on a guy who does biological experiments you can do at home. And he goes into super depth about how you can do it, what type of chemicals are illegal and illegal, so you don't buy like ones that can get you in trouble. He explains like, okay, this has a compound, so you can't buy this, but you can buy each individual chemical to make the compound, and that's legal. And I'm like, how's that legal? That's retarded. But it's possible you can do that. You can combine different chemicals and things. So yeah. Anyways, PSA is to end this. By the way, I just, as for both the audience and for you, I want to do this every Saturday. I don't want to do it every day because I don't want to like take over your podcast. I don't want to be that intrusive. I would like to find some collaborations for you, though. I feel like your show could use some variety down the road. And again, I don't want to take over your show, so it's more just it's going to be like a weekly thing more than a daily thing. So, anyways, that's all I have to say. So, whatever you have to say, go ahead and say it.
Today's PSA: don't do drugs unless it ends up making you make some really, really dope music.
Are you encouraging people to smoke weed?
Well, I mean, some of the best songs ever created came from that. But...
Hey, Minecraft came from smoking weed, especially the creepers, apparently. So take that as you will. Don't do drugs at all unless it's approved by a doctor. And even then, don't abuse your drugs. Just take them in moderation. Yeah, I guess this is it. We should really come up with some kind of catchphrase at the end, like, see you out tonight, 3:00. That's our thoughts. That didn't make sense, but you know what I meant.
See you next night on 3 a.m. Thoughts.
Wait, what kind of thought?
Oh.
What
kind of thoughts are you?
Anyways, see you later. Bye. You should say the last word as I hang up.